Hey everyone, Jim here from VillageLocal. Hope you're doing well. One of the most common requests I get is for information about how people can get access to the support, level of home care support that they need. I'm often getting phone calls from older Australians themselves who have gone through the process of having a home care assessment to get access to or organise home care support services, and they haven't been awarded the level of support that they need. Another version of that is getting a phone call from a very disgruntled family member, typically the adult caregiver of a family who's looking after their elderly parent, and their parent has had an assessment, an aged care assessment, and they've received a letter a couple of weeks later saying that mum or dad has only been approved for very entry-level services, and the family members left scratching their head as to what it takes to organise the level of support that you need. So I thought it'd be very, very useful for those listening in to actually get some insight into how to prepare yourself for an upcoming assessment, what the assessor's looking for when it comes to approving people for certain levels of support, and ultimately to help the community put their best foot forward and communicate in the language that the assessor needs to hear in order to approve the correct level of support to meet the needs of the individual. I'm going to break this video down really into three main areas. First of all, that is preparing for the upcoming assessment, okay? What you need to know, what you need to be aware of for that assessment. Then I'm also going to, in another video, future video following that, I'm going to give you some insight into what to expect after that assessment takes place. So, what to expect in the mail in terms of letters that you're going to get from My Aged Care based on the outcome, what the waiting lists look like for such support services, and what your options are when you're in that period of the waiting list. And then once you're coming out the end of that waiting list, what happens next? How do you prepare for your upcoming support services, be it a home care package or otherwise, so that you can make sure you have the correct care plan in place and access to all the different things that would be most useful as a consumer of home care services. If you want more videos just like this one and other related content, if you're watching this on YouTube, then hit the subscribe button as well as tick the box to get notifications. If you're watching it from our VillageLocal website, then make sure you subscribe. We regularly send out newsletters and information just like this one to keep you safe, to keep you independent, to keep you well and living the life that you want to live. Okay, so let's talk about the first stage of that process, right? This is for people who may not have any home care support services in place, and they need to get started with some, or they may already be getting some very entry-level services. So maybe somebody coming to the home once a fortnight to help with very light domestic duties, tidy up the floors or a bit of help in the garden and whatnot, right? But ultimately they need more support in place. So for both those scenarios, if you're in either of those scenarios, the process is the same. Step one is to get on the phone with an organisation called My Aged Care. That is a government department, and that's the gateway for getting access to the additional support you need, or to make the initial request, okay? Now, before you call them up, the phone number, by the way, is 1-800-200-422, but before you call them up, you must prepare for the call, right? You need to get a piece of paper out. When it comes to preparing, you need to get a piece of paper out. You need to divide that piece of paper into 2 columns, okay? If you want to pause this video and get that piece of paper and do this while I step you through it, then that might be a good idea as well, right? So get that piece of paper out, put it long ways, A4, put it long ways, divide it into 2 columns. On the left-hand column, I want you to write down any health challenge that you're currently living with. So that might be, arthritis, diabetes, vision impairment, COPD, anything that you've been diagnosed with, write it down. Think about, if you can't think of what the actual chronic condition is, think about the medications you take and why you're taking those medications. Maybe it's some blood pressure medication because you've got a heart condition. Your point is you want to write down all your clinical challenges on the left-hand side of that column, okay? Now, once you've done that, on the right-hand side column, I want you to write down a list of any day-to-day challenge or day-to-day task that isn't as easy for you to do as it used to be, okay? I'm not saying that you can't do them anymore. I'm saying that they aren't as easy as what they used to be. So as an example, doing the laundry, okay? You may find that you still push yourself through the activity of getting the laundry done, maybe stripping the bed of the linen, loading up the washing machine, and then really challenging yourself to put that on the line to dry out. Now, you still do it, but it's really difficult for you these days, okay? Write it down. Getting the laundry done, hanging the laundry out, doing the bedding. You want to write those things down. Other example, getting the floors cleaned, cleaning the bathroom, maintaining the garden, cleaning the windows, getting up to high places, standing on ladders. These are the things, if these are the things that are concerning you, put them down. Other thing I want you to list in this same column is maybe things that you rely on other people to help you with. So you may have a family member or a friend do those things for you. Write them down, because they're the things that either you are challenged by or you find difficult and you've asked somebody else to do for you. You want to write them down. The reason why you want to write them down is because these are the things you want to be able to tell my aged care that you're having troubles with, and these are the things that you're relying on others for. So in essence, you're losing your independence on those things, and you don't want to lose your independence. You want to be fully independent. You don't want to be dependent on other people to help you live the life you want to live. It's fantastic if you've got those other people in your life to do those things. That's great. It doesn't mean you stop allowing them to help you, but what it does mean is you are in control of your well-being and your safety. Okay? So, to recap, 2 columns. Left column, all your clinical challenges. The right column, all the day-to-day tasks, everyday tasks that aren't as easy as they used to be. Whether you still do them, whether you don't do them, whether you rely on other people to do them, write them down. Okay. Now you're fully prepared to speak to my aged care. The thing you need to know when it comes to getting approved for home care services is my aged care and the assessment team, they're looking for some key things, okay? Some people refer them as like trigger words or trigger statements, but ultimately what they're looking for is they're looking for people who have multiple chronic conditions that affect their daily living tasks or ability to live independently, that potentially those people are at risk of either harm to themselves, a hospital readmission or a hospital admission for the first time. They're looking for people that their situation, be it their clinical situation, health situation, whatever it is a progressive one, meaning it's not getting better, it potentially is getting worse over time, okay? So, if you've got a health condition, the health condition might not have a cure. It's just about you just staying on top of it and managing it. Diabetes is a perfect example of that. Arthritis is a perfect example of that. There's no cure for these things. It's just about staying on top of it, managing it, minimizing the effects of it in your life, all right? They're looking for these scenarios. So when it comes to actually speaking to my aged care or speaking to the assessor, it's important to communicate clearly what these challenges are. So let them know what your multiple conditions are. Let them know that whether they're stable, they're getting better, or they're getting worse. You need to let them know. Don't assume that they know. And let them to know holistically what all the challenges are. And that's what that piece of paper is. When you first get on the phone with my aged care, this is how the conversation will go. You call them up, 1-800-200-422, and somebody from My Aged Care, the call centre, will say, hi, how can I help you? What's your situation? And then you just jump straight into it. You say, hi, my name is, for example, Mrs. Smith. I'm sorry for all the Mrs. Smiths out there, as a common name I use as an example. Hi, my name is Mrs. Smith. I'm wondering if I can speak to somebody about getting some support in the home. And My Aged Care will say, yeah, no worries. Tell us about what those challenges are. And this is where you can, pull out your piece of paper, and you can tell the person, look, I've got a piece of paper together that sort of spells out my health challenges as well as my daily living challenges. Do you mind if I rattle through that with you? And the My Aged Care person, first of all, they'll probably be pretty surprised that you've prepared for this, and they'll be very appreciative of it. But then you can just jump straight into it. You say, look, from my health challenges, these are the things that I'm living with. These are the things I take medication for. These are the things that I'm seeing a doctor about to help me with. And, because I've got these health conditions, this is the impact on my daily living. I have trouble with the laundry because of the arthritis in my shoulder. I can't lift high places. I don't want to get on ladders because I'm feeling a little bit wobbly on the legs these days, and I'm worried about falling over. And because I'm in that condition, it stops me from doing those things, and that means, I can't get the windows done, and I need somebody to give me a hand with that. And, I'm struggling with the laundry, which means I'm probably not changing the bedding often enough, and it'd be great to have some help with that, and so on. You get the point I'm trying to make, right? Now, with that level of appreciation, the My Aged Care person knows exactly what path to put you down. And it's pretty much one of two paths that they'll put you down. The first path that they'll put you down is a very, very entry-level path, or a path that will get you access to very, very entry-level services. Those entry-level services, it's called the Commonwealth Home Support Program. At most, what it's going to give you is access to about an hour, maybe an hour and a half of some very, very light domestic assistance on a fortnightly basis, okay? So somebody can come to your home once a fortnight for about an hour and a half. It's going to cost you maybe anywhere between $10 and $20 for the visit, and they'll give you, some very, very entry-level services. I say entry-level, right? Because that's exactly what it is. As an example, if they're going to come around to vacuum the floor, they're not going to move a coffee table around. They're going to whip around that coffee table really quickly, okay? They're certainly not going to get on a ladder to dust the top of shelves. It's very entry level. If you're needing a little bit deeper than that, well then it's the home care package channel you need to be pushed down to, okay? When you go down that channel, it's a team called the Aged Care Assessment Team, or ACAT, that will assess your situation when it comes to an on-site assessment to determine exactly what level of home care support you need, okay? So, two different channels. If you feel that you've been sent down that first entry-level channel, which is for the Commonwealth Home Support Program, what you want to do is, after My Aged Care has told you, look, this is the sequence of events that will happen, somebody from the assessment team will give you a call. What you want to do is ask them. Ask them this question. Excuse me, My Aged Care, can you just let me know, have you put me down for a RAS, R-A-S, RAS assessment? That stands for Regional Assessment Team, okay? Am I going down that path, or have you put me down the ACAT channel, Aged Care Assessment Team? And they will tell you what they've booked you in for. And then you need to ask them. You need to say, okay, that's great. So if you've put me down the RAS channel, can you tell me these particular tasks that I'm challenged with on a daily basis, say it's getting on a ladder to clean the windows. You can ask the My Aged Care person, if I get approved for what a RAS can approve me for, which is the Commonwealth Home Support Program, will that service enable me to get access to that type of support that I need, which is getting on ladders, okay? So just so you know, a Commonwealth Home Support Program, that entry level, typically you're not going to get help with cleaning windows and weekly support. The most, again, is very entry level services once a fortnight. So once you've confirmed that with My Aged Care, if you find that the support that you need doesn't actually match up with CHSP services, Commonwealth Home Support Program services, then just kindly request, hey, can we have another think about that? I'm thinking maybe an ACAT assessment would be better for my particular situation, because these are the types of activities that I'm needing, and I'm concerned that I'm not going to get that support on a Commonwealth Home Support Program. Okay? What that information I've given you then is giving you the power to advocate for your needs, right? Most of the time, My Aged Care is going to get it right. They're going to put you down the right channel. But there's a lot of scenarios that we see where people get put down the wrong pathway. And the biggest outcome of that is a huge amount of wasted time. We're talking weeks to months of wasted time, because you might have gone down one particular channel and it's not the right support services, so you got to come back out again and then go down the other channel. And we're trying to save you that burden, okay? So make sure you've been booked in for the correct assessment for the correct type of support. It's simple. There's only 2 types of assessment: the RAS assessment for very entry-level support, or the ACAT assessment for typically when you need a little bit of help, maybe once a week or a few times a week and beyond, okay? So that's how you prepare and get booked in for that assessment. Now let's spend a little bit of time, a few minutes, talking about the actual assessment, right? So the assessment, once the person in My Aged Care has booked you in for the assessment, that initial phone call you're having with My Aged Care, that is not the assessment, right? That is them booking you in for the assessment. The assessment typically takes place a few days to a few weeks after that conversation, okay? So the person at My Aged Care is going to say, all right, no worries, Mrs. Smith, I've booked you in for an assessment. Expect a phone call from them over the next coming days to coming weeks, all right? So I know that's annoying, right? But that's the situation of the system, okay? So that phone call takes place. That phone call may be the assessor calling you up to book a time for them to come out to your home, right? Again, I know that sounds a little bit convoluted, but don't shoot the messenger is what I'm saying, okay? So that may be the assessor booking a time to come out to your home, or they could tell you on the phone, hey, do you have some time now? We can do an over-the-phone assessment. It's, from our experience, it's better to have them come to your home because they get a truer appreciation for the environment that you're in and the challenges that you face, okay? So ultimately, what I'm saying is somebody's eventually going to do that assessment, being over the phone or in the home. Here is something very, very important. You want to make sure you clearly explain, either with words or show them, what your life looks like on your difficult days, okay? Do not be one of the many, many people we come across who are surprised that they weren't approved for anything, and then we find out that the assessor came over to their home and they were the best host that ever existed, bringing out scones and bringing out cakes and pouring cups of tea and this, that and the other, and the assessor's getting this impression that, oh, Mrs. Smith, she's actually pretty good. The assessor doesn't realise, however, that once the assessor leaves, Mrs. Smith's in bed for the next 3 days because she's absolutely exhausted. Okay? Don't be that person. If you're an adult caregiver of an elderly parent and you can see your parent being that amazing host, please, please, please make sure you explain to them the situation of why the assessor is there and what the assessor is looking to understand, and make sure that if it's yourself or if it's somebody else you're advising, that they give a true representation of what their reality is. Okay? This is not about being untruthful, about asking for government handouts that you don't need. This is not about that. Quite contrary, it's about being truthful and truly representing the challenges that the older person faces, be it yourself or a family member or a friend, okay? It's not about sounding needy. It's not about losing your independence. It's not about coming across as, super stoic and whatnot. now is not the time to be a hero. Now is the time to be truly representative of the reality of things, because this is your one moment to get the resources you need to maintain your independence and continue living the life you want to live in the home you live in the community that you know and love. Okay, so please take it seriously. This is not a social visit. This is an assessment, and prepare for it. Again, keep that piece of paper handy, so when the assessor comes out, share that piece of paper with the assessor. Go through it with them. Because, I mean, we all face that situation where we might have a conversation with somebody and, you know, when the conversation ends a few hours later, you might be thinking, oh, I wish I said that, and I wish I did that. Have that piece of paper handy and you're not going to miss anything, okay? The assessment's going to complete, the assessor's going to go away. The next thing you can expect is within a few days, sometimes a couple of weeks, you're going to get a letter from My Aged Care, okay? And the letter's going to state what you've been approved for based on the assessment that you just had, right? And that letter could say something like, you've been approved for the Commonwealth Home Support Program, which is the entry-level support service. And these are the specific things under that support program scheme that you can get access to. Or it's going to say something like, you've been approved for a home care package. And that's the higher level of support. In a following video, I'm going to explain the difference between those two things in greater detail. But that's, the purpose of this video is really just to sort of get you through that assessment process, so that the outcome of that assessment is truly accurate and representative of what your needs are, and can get you access to the support. I'm going to wrap it up there. Stay tuned for the next video. You might see it on the channel if you're watching this at a later recording date. Otherwise, we're going to be sending it out as soon as it's released. If you've got any questions, as always, you can make a comment on this particular page or email us directly at info@villagelocal.com.au, or our phone number is 1300 87 43 42. If you like this video, then make sure you check out the one right here for other great related information to keep you safe and well and independent in the community that you know and love. Until next time, stay well, everybody. Take care.